Earlier in the show, I noted that Christopher Wray, the current director of the Federal Bureau of Investigations, will be stepping down before the next administration starts. We heard that through a Fox News report. Now we get to hear it from the horse's mouth itself, or himself, I should say. Christopher Wray, I want you to pay attention to what he says here, because he is arguably more truthful now than he has ever been over the last 7 years as the director. Watch.
After weeks of careful thought, I've decided the right thing for the Bureau is for me to serve until the end of the current administration in January and then step down. My goal is to keep the focus on our mission, on the indispensable work each of you is doing every single day. And in my view, this is the best way to avoid dragging the Bureau deeper into the fray while reinforcing the values and principles that are so important in how we do our work. Now, it should go without saying, but I'm going to go ahead and say it anyways. This is not easy for me. I love this place. I love our mission, and I love our people. But my focus is, and always has been, on us and on doing what's right for the FBI.
Did you catch there? He was, again, very truthful. He said that he has done and will continue to do what is best for the FBI. He doesn't do what's best for the Constitution, for the American people, for the rule of law, or for the United States of America itself. He is an FBI guy. He's a deep state guy. And he will continue to be a deep state guy, and he will continue to operate, just not as director of the FBI. One of the things that I think many people either don't know or forget is that the deep state itself is not just made up of the intelligence community and the federal law enforcement agencies. It's not just made up of a handful of crooked politicians and bureaucrats. No. The deep state also includes a whole lot of corporate interests. There are many private sector elements to the deep state, including, of course, the military-industrial complex, as well as their operations outside of federal law enforcement, but within the law enforcement community. They have deep state operatives in sheriff's offices. They have deep state operatives working in district attorney's offices and attorneys general offices across the nation. This is how they are able to not only do what they do, but fund what they do and get away with what they've done. It's a very intricate and widespread organization, very similar to the interaction between the private sector and the government sector when it comes to pharmaceuticals and healthcare. You have somebody who's in the FDA or the CDC or the NIH. They end up maybe going to a big pharma job and then maybe back again, vice versa. It's a very sordid relationship there between big pharma and the various government agencies in charge of our health policies. Same thing can be said about the deep state, just much more widespread, but also much less visible. We don't get to see nearly as much as what happens. So I would argue that Christopher Wray, this isn't the last we've heard from him. It might not be nearly as public, whatever it is that he's about to do, but he is going to retain his position in some way, some form, some fashion within the deep state. We are talking about somebody who is a puppet of the World Economic Forum. He is a puppet of the globalist elite cabal. That is his place in the world, and his place within the United States is as a very active and aggressive member with a whole lot of information in his head regarding the deep state. He knows where the bodies are buried. He knows the policies. He knows the ways to get around certain things. And I would argue that what we are witnessing today is the first step in a clandestine mission within the Federal Bureau of Investigations to sabotage any future FBI directors, such as Kash Patel, who has been nominated by President Trump. I would say that he's going to not only get in the way, but he's going to do everything within his power to cover his own butt, his being Christopher Wray's, to cover the butts of the people that he is working with, sometimes working for, sometimes working under him. But he's going to try to Trump-proof the FBI, very similar to how they attempted to do the same thing following the 2016 election. The difference now is that, well, two differences. Difference number one is that they've done a whole lot more bad stuff now than they were doing before. And difference number two is that, hopefully, Lord willing, President Trump is savvier. The people he's surrounding himself with are more dedicated, more loyal to the United States, to the Constitution, to Trump himself. And, Lord willing, they're going to be able to sniff out as much of the shenanigans that have already taken place and that will continue to take place within the Federal Bureau of Investigations.